You are now tuned into the TRUENORTH.BET podcast, brought to you by TRUENORTH.BET, always a bet in the right direction. This is the NFL podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, and I'm pleased to be here once again on a marvelous entry to the weekend as we have NFL football, CFL football, and NCAA football, and they're on the rise as we see as we continue on throughout the week. And this is week 8. So this is going to be incredible. It's going to be a great time heading into NFL football. And I can't wait. I can't wait for NFL football because this week there's an incredible slate. In college football, of course, we have an incredible slate as well, too. But I want to highlight it with one game. And that's the OSU Buckeyes, Ohio State, OH, going to Death Valley to play Sean Clifford, James Franklin, and the Penn State Nittany Lions in Death Valley in Penn State. It's going to be an incredible one. Got CJ Stroud, who right now I believe is the front runner for the Heisman, going up against the Nittany Lions, where you have a strong running game, good O-line, and actually a decent defense as well. They can't really stop the run, Nittany Lions, but in Death Valley, they are different. I, for one, like LR, the back quarterback of the Nittany Lions. I think he's going to be the future. I don't think that James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions should have let go of Will Levis, who's now the quarterback for Kentucky. I don't think they should let go of a few guys, of course, to act quarterback, as Sean Clifford can be iffy, but he's been there for years. He's a leader, kind of plays the game a little bit unorthodox, the way he throws the ball and whatnot, but it's going to take a miracle for them to beat Ohio State. Well, you know what? I won't say a miracle, but it'll take a perfect game for them to beat the Ohio State Buckeyes at home. This would be the first true test that Ohio State has on the road this year. So it's going to be incredible to watch. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what does transpire. But I expect CJ Stroud. I expect Jackson Smith and Jigba, Emeka Boka, Marvin Harrison Jr., Julian Fleming, Cade Stover, Tegan Jr., Darrell Henderson, running game, everything to be on point. Paris Jackson, everyone to be ready to go. Michael Williams, of course, another guy. They need to be ready to go against this team. That was everyone just simply on the offense. All of the main players on the offense that I just named, they have guys on guys, and they have guys on the bench that are ready to come up. They have recruits coming in. OSU is simply a machine that's just taking off day by day, week by week, brick by brick. Iron sharpens iron. When Ryan Day does a really good job of putting the guys in a good position to win. Greg Hartline, of course, the wide receiver coaches at OSU, does a really good job of putting these receivers in good positions to exploit their matchups, and they get vertical on them. CJ Stroud is incredible at throwing a deep ball, whether it's a corner, a seam, a fade, a post. He's incredible at it. He's going to be great. I think he's going to be a really effective NFL quarterback because he's a really stand in the pocket, pro-style quarterback. Doesn't run the ball too much, such as a Justin Fields. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be probably close a little bit to start. And then I believe that the Ohio State Buckeyes will kind of, just take control over it, because it's really hard to stop them on all fronts because they do have so many weapons on offense that can exploit you. Henderson, Williams out of the backfield. The offensive line is incredible this year. Back to their prominence. They're number 2 in the country. Could win this game. If Georgia does lose this game, they could end up being number 1 at one point. They are the best team in the Big Ten. It is a Big Ten matchup. It is in Death Valley, but I completely expect CJ Stroud and the Ohio State Buckeyes to take that in Pennsylvania. So this is going to be incredible. And Julian Fleming was the number 1 player out of high school in 2019. He's a receiver right now for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He chose to go to Ohio State over Penn State. So we have a lot of family there from, of course, his high school as well, too. All of his friends should be there. So that should be a pretty big game for him. A guy that grew up in Pennsylvania, was highly touted by everyone. Now is a big-time receiver for the Ohio State Buckeyes. That should be interesting to see exactly how it transpires. And this will just give you liberal insight to exactly what the week will be. There's a lot going on in NCAA. And one thing I would say is that every week is the playoffs. Every week is a game that can be sneaky. You have LSU versus Alabama coming up. That's going to be interesting. Of course, that's going to be something where Bryce Young, you know, the entire team in Alabama, Nick Saban, have to be ready because LSU just beat Ole Miss at home. That's the real Death Valley. Louisiana is the real Death Valley. And you got Jalen Daniels as the quarterback. You got Butte as a receiver who's going to be a great NFL receiver when he gets out. You have a team that's really, really well. New coach, of course, too, that's doing a really good job. He's not a really likable guy, but he's done a really good job of putting the guys together and put them in spaces where they can exploit matchups and be successful. And of course, coming from Notre Dame to where he is right now, it's incredible to see exactly where he's taking this team from actually losing to now actually winning most of their games and actually winning quite well. And Brian Kelly, who's, when I slipped my mind initially, Brian Kelly's done a really good job. He's a good coach, can be a little bit of a weirdo like a Russell Wilson, but he's a very good coach and he always gets his guys to play well when it matters most. And that's something that I think will be really looked on as they play Alabama coming up. So that should be a really good matchup as well, too. But Ohio State, Penn State, two incredible teams, two teams that are definitely up there, right? Penn State getting beat really handily by Michigan. Michigan run game is just incredible with like Corum, Edwards, that offensive line. Harbaugh is kind of regaining his confidence as a coach. Ohio State right now is number 2, going up against 13th-ranked Penn State. Of course, you have Oregon going up against California. Oregon's back. They're 8th in the country, having a big game against UCLA last week. So that was incredible. USC's going up against Arizona in the Pac-12. Georgia against Florida. That's a sneaky matchup there at home. But you have a lot of teams that are working really well and playing really well when it matters most right now, right? And it's going to be an interesting week as more of these teams are getting buys, but that's going to be a game to watch out for as we go. Now shifting gears to the pros. And we're going to start out with a team that's probably the surprise of the year. And the surprise of the year in not a good way. The Green Bay Packers, okay, are going to be playing in primetime against the Bills in Buffalo. Two teams that are used to playing in cold weathers, but the Green Bay Packers are 3-4. After starting the year not too well, to winning a few games, beating the Bears, they've dropped the last 3 games. Matt LaFleur has to be looked at right now as a guy that, yes, he has a safe job, but how safe really is it? You got Aaron Rodgers. You have not brought in some weapons to be on the offensive side of the ball. You have Aaron Jones. You have A.J. Dillon. You have Aaron Rodgers, who's, my opinion, and I believe this is valid, the best thrower of the football that has ever graced the earth and throwing football in the NFL. He's the best thrower. Can be a little bit of an enigma the way he is and a little bit of weird when the way his comments are and how he leads, as he's just said this past week, that guys that are making mistakes should be getting less reps in practice, less reps of the first team. So essentially what he's doing, he's calling out Dobbs. He's calling out Watson. He's calling out guys that were dropping balls quite a bit. He wants guys to be winners. He wants guys to earn their spot. But losing Devontae Adams last year, you get rid of that safety blanket. Devontae making every catch. He's the best receiver in the league still to this day. But he's just, wasting his talent in Las Vegas because Derek Carr and that team just can't put it together for the life of them. Green Bay is a 10-point underdog, 10.5-point underdog against the Buffalo Bills, who in many eyes are the greatest team or the other best team in the league right now. And that's not necessarily an inaccurate estimation because Green Bay has dropped games. They lost to the Commanders last week, Taylor Heineke and the Washington Commanders. The Commanders, they lost in Washington. Aaron Rodgers has not been able to get the ball out to his guys, gets the ball to Aaron Jones. It's funny because right now, Aaron Rodgers, his most lethal weapons on offense are his running backs, with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. I would say that out of everyone he has right now, you have Al Lazard that's up and down with health, the most consistent player that he has, and I would put him in a slot, to let him run a few routes is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is great on the ground. He's great with catching the ball. He's their best weapon right now on offense. And it's unfortunate, but that's just simply how it's been because Dobbs hasn't been able to put it together. Bob Tunyon has not been able to put it together and come back to his old ways after going through the knee surgery. Randall Cobb has been a little bit injured. Allen Lazard has been a little bit injured. Watson hasn't been good enough. The list goes on and on of all the receivers that need to step up a lot more for this team to actually be successful. But they lost to the Washington Commanders in Washington, lost to the Jets. They've just dropped games that they usually do not drop. Okay. Playing the Bills, which is the game where they're 10.5-point underdogs. It's going to be incredible to see how that goes. And then, of course, another team, they've been dominated by New York because they lost to the New York Giants as well, too. Aaron Rodgers has lost to the New York Giants. You never hear that. That never happens. But it's happened this year. And that's why you play the game. You still have to go out there. You still have to play the game because anything can happen. And that's the bottom line. They are 10.5-point favorites because Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Von Miller, Vernon Poyer, the list goes on and on. They have some dogs in that team in Buffalo. And I can't wait to go out and see them in person in a few weeks. They're going to be in Orchard Park. They're going to be in Buffalo. It's going to be a cold environment. I don't see the Green Bay Packers beating them. It's in prime time as well, too. Usually Aaron Rodgers steps up in prime time. But he's going up against Josh Allen, who right now I believe is the MVP of the league. I think he's played the best. He's come back from adversity. He's shown everything, beating the Kansas City Chiefs prior to the bye week. And now going up against Aaron Rodgers. So they're used to being in primetime slots, and they're getting better. They're making the right moves. They're doing a really good job of getting everything together and winning games and knowing when to win games and how to win games. Of course, they lost to the Miami Dolphins, but they're learning how to win games consistently at this point. So I say, and I think I'm right. You can tell me, of course, I'm wrong, but I think the Bills are definitely going to win this game handily. I think that Matt LaFleur will soon be on the hot seat. I believe, of course, that moves must be made in Green Bay. They don't necessarily pay too much, which is the reason why they lost Devontae Adams, but they have to find a way to pay their guys because they are losing. They're really faltering on a day-to-day basis, and it's something that needs to change as they go. Kadarius Toney has been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kadarius Toney, the guy that tore up the Dallas Cowboys, tore up training camp many ways, but of course tore up his knee in many ways as well too for coming back. But Kadarius Toney is now out of Florida. One of the guys that are really explosive, plays like a Wan'Dale Robinson, plays like a guy that Tavon Austin, that kind of slot guy you can put there is going to be speedy, do a lot of really good reads when it comes to screens. Can get out in transition, can get out in the field and break the top off. He's extremely athletic. He's now with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Of course, they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster. The list goes on and on of the guy, Mecole Hardman. Of course, you have McKinnon in the backfield, Travis Kelce. They have guys. I think what's happening right now is that they're seeing that Travis Kelce is being, pretty much double coverage in the red zone and in many plays. So they have to bring a guy that can definitely exploit the defense a little bit more, spread the defense, get them vertical. And I think that's a great pickup with the Kadarius Toney. The only thing for now is that how do all of these guys get touches? How do they get targets? You have all these burners. They just put a bunch of burners. They're trying to compensate for losing Tyreek Hill, but it's very hard to compensate for Tyreek Hill because he's so fast, so athletic. Get open whenever he wants. Blows the top off of the defense. He's someone that's essentially irreplaceable. And that's the bottom line. But for his value, all right, being traded for picks, you can see that Kansas City wants to get back to the promised land. They want to get back to where they're prominent. And that's something that will be discussed as we go. Speaking of someone that's trying to get back to prominence, Jamar Chase. Fortunately, Jamar Chase was injured. All right. He'll be put on the IR. It's a game that he's out about 4 to 6 weeks as a Bengal. I believe it's going to be really tough for the Bengals to win without him. I think he's one of those guys that are difference makers as he commands so much from the defense. So him being out for 4 to 6 weeks with a lingering injury is not good for the Bengals. Not good at all. Joey Burrow is going to got to do a lot more. They play on Monday versus the Browns in Cleveland. T. Higgins has to be that number one. Hayden Hurst has to be that number one tight end. They've got it. Tyler Boyd has to step up. Everyone has to step up. Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine. That's going to be a game where that offense who exploded last week against New Orleans Saints definitely need to figure out exactly what they're going to do. Against the Falcons. Falcons 35-17, 30-26 against the Saints, winning that division. I don't really like the way that they have a schedule play where they're going and playing against certain divisions. But it's the way that they got it done. Joe Burrow needs to and absolutely needs to step up a lot bigger and going forward because he's the MVP candidate and he needs to make sure this team play well. It's not sponsored by Gatorade. Not sponsored by Gatorade. But to go back into exactly what you're talking about, there's many reasons for why the Bengals should be at the top with the Ravens. They should be contending for the number one spot. The Ravens, after a great convincing win 27-22 against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, showed exactly why they are the way they are. Those two teams will be battling because they ran the ball for over 200 yards in general. And I had to go pick that up right there because, of course, it just popped down. But the Baltimore Ravens had a really great win against the Tampa Buccaneers. Defense, offense, taking out Mike Evans from the game, taking out Godwin from the game. Tom Brady looked confused, throwing terrible balls up and down the entire field. It was pretty much a struggle. It was tough to watch, but still more points than usual Thursday Night Football. And I think the league has to look at Thursday Night Football, say, is this something that's a product that we want to keep pushing out there? I know people want more football, but teams aren't ready to go at Thursday. I know they're going to be off the rest of the week, but they're not ready to go. It's tough to go from a Sunday game to a Thursday game. Essentially, what that means is that you're practicing after the game on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 practices, and you're right into the game. So you don't really get too much rest. You don't get to recover the body too much. The guys aren't exploding as much as they usually do, unless they're extremely gifted. And it's just a tough time in general for teams. But I want to see what they're going to do with Thursday Night Football. Can't go Friday night because people aren't going to watch as much. Thursday, people watch because they're going to work the next day. But that would be something that we keep an eye on as we go. So there's a rumor that Russell Wilson was doing high knees on the plane overseas for the Broncos and working out while the team was sleeping. It was reported. So that means that players have told the press released this story. So it's incredible how guys are turning on Russell Wilson because he can be kind of a guy where he thinks he's funny, but he's really not. Thinks he's cool, but he's really not. He's just one of those guys you just know off rip exactly how they're going to be. But with that being said, head coach Nathaniel Hackett is on the hot seat. They're losing games. They're accumulating very costly turnovers. Not turnovers, but flags as well, too. Turnovers. Everything is going really wrong with that team. And it's very much something that the entire league has to look at, or something that they have to look at as a front office, because they just brought this guy in this year. And many people have said you could be a great OC. It doesn't mean you're going to be a great head coach at all. At all. Because at the same time, you have to make decisions as a head coach. You can't simply focus on the offense. You've got to be able to be versatile and understand exactly what it is. And it's tough for an OC to do that. So if Nathaniel Hackett loses his job this year, within the year, he will not have a job for a long period of time. Because he has to go through this year. But it's fine because he's going to be sitting on a lot of money. So that's something that you can definitely look at. What is going on in New England? Moment of silence. Tom Brady has been injured. And he's always been injured, but he's being really, really slow. He's leading the throws, slow with his throws. It's almost as though he's gone through a lot in his personal life, which he has. He's filed for a divorce with Gisele Bündchen. But he doesn't look all there. He's still throwing decent balls. Guys are just not getting to it. But it really comes down to being just a more effective leader and not getting on your guys. And then, of course, being a winner, which is that he's most likely the most winningest athlete of all time. So he knows exactly what that means. But in New England, what is the QB controversy? What is going on? You have grade 10. Not grade 10. So you have a young guy, I would say he's kind of a grade 10, and Bailey Zappi as a rookie coming in. Then you have Mac Jones. And to be honest, when I said grade 10, I was thinking of my football team at school that I coach him offensive coordinator for. It's not the same, right? But I think I do a really good job, and I can put things together just like Nathaniel Hackett, but I won't get fired because I think I'm a little better than him. Bailey Zappi throws a more stronger ball, and this is because he's got a chance to be throwing with guys that are not a Devontae Smith, not a Najee Harris, not a Jalen Waddle, where Mac Jones has had that his entire career at Alabama. So what it really comes down to is the fact that Bailey Zappi's had to win from a lower level in the SWAC at Western Kentucky, play against teams that have high energy, a lot of, getting all the money. He's never been blessed with a receiver or receiver core like Mac Jones. So what he's done with this team, which don't have too many burners, too many great players on the outside. You got Aguilar, you got a number of Myers. You have a few guys that can play, but not everyone can play. It doesn't mean they're going to be great off rip. He's made a chance. He's made it a point even to get the ball to Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry had no touchdowns for the first 3 weeks of the year, dropped by every team in fantasy. He's getting the ball to Hunter Henry. He's spreading in and out. He's doing a really good job of surveying the field. He's done a really good job. But Mac Jones is clear to play. He goes in, looks shaky, gets taken out. So now what Bill Belichick has done, he's created a quarterback controversy, which is not favorable for anyone in their right mind. I believe that depending on what happens this week, Mac Jones has to start. If he starts to struggle, you can put Bailey in, but then let the guys search for a different team. If he wants to stay in New England, by all means he can, but he has to win that matchup. And that will be incredible to see. Well, I want to say, TRUENORTH.BET is on the rise. It's always a bet in the right direction. I'm your host, Brandon Graham. I cannot wait for NFL football, NCAA football coming up really, really soon this weekend. Bear my voice because I've been yelling all day. It's what I do when I coach. I think I'm a better OC than Nathaniel Hackett. I think I can do better with Russell Wilson, but that's his job, not mine. My job is to be here. TRUENORTH.BET, always a bet in the right direction. This is the TRUENORTH.BET NFL NCAA podcast. Football. Cannot wait to be back with you very soon. Until you keep balling. Have a great weekend and enjoy. Let us know in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. Keep balling. Of course, what you want to do, said before, keep balling.